Hey, welcome back to the Book of Dad Radio Show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. As always, before we get started, we want to say thank you to Jehovah. Thank Him for His Son, Jesus Christ. Thank Him for our families. Thank Him for work and our ability to do the things we're able to do. Book of Dad Radio Show, and I got the engineer extraordinaire hanging out with me. What's say, Eddie G?
Hey, sir. How you doing today?
Are you staying awake over there, man?
I I sent him a little meme of me like a little baby falling off the couch. That's how I felt today. I got up real early.
busy man.
I'm
But,
excited now, though. I'm awake now. We have the
absolutely.
celebrity
We
with us.
got a great topic, a great guest. Let me just start by saying that this is Women's History Month appreciation, and the theme for this year's is the valiant women of the vote refusing to be silenced. What better guest than we have? We talk about somebody with a great voice to come in and talk about to us during Women's History Month than Miss Sarah Dash. Hello, Miss Sarah Dash. How are you?
Hello, how are you guys doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I can't say I had worse days, but these are the better days because I'm still
Hmm.
here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were just sharing some information about you. Why don't you share with the audience who you are for those who may not know who you are?
Okay, so you'd like for me to describe who I am. You trust that, right?
We're
Okay.
out on a limb here.
Um,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm Sarah Dash, in the music industry known as one of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells who morphed into LaBelle. I've been in the music industry since I'm 16, and I celebrated my diamond year last year. Um, we had a famous song called Lady Marmalade, Gitcha Ya Ya Da Da. It was produced by it was produced by Alan Toussaint, written by Ken Nolan, and a wonderful writer who just passed this year. And they were part of the Pepsi generation. That song, Lady Marmalade, set our lives up. The other members in the group were Nona Hendrix and Patti LaBelle, known as LaBelle, with that super
Wow.
duper hit, as I said before, Lady Marmalade. Yes. So I'm also the Trenton, New Jersey Music and Arts Ambassador. I sit on the board of the New Jersey Capitol Philharmonic Orchestra. I'm a trustee there. I served as a governor for 8 years on the Grammy board. I'm also an advocate for their board. I served on the national membership. I was part of their Blue Committee um, selection. That is the committee that selects the legends and gives you all the higher accolades of awards. And I'm also a top lady of distinction, an organization started as a result of Lyndon B. Johnson's wife. And I'm sure as I go, I'm also a music director for a private school in Trenton, New Jersey called Sprout U School of the Arts. And I'm busy.
And
Yeah.
that's great. That's outstanding. But
So,
and there's so many questions we want to ask you, so many things we want to get to. But and the fact that you're so influential is just is unbelievable. But I did not know that you were still thriving on the level that you are. Share with us a little bit about what you think as far as women and y'all women's impact in the music industry in general.
well, we noticed that for the past year or so, there's been a change and the recognition of women who are producers, songwriters, performers we've always known, but women behind the scenes. You have Sylvia Rome, who is an executive at Sony Music, and you have um, Deborah Lee, who's produced television shows for BET. But in the music industry, we have great producers who never really got the recognition. And I think that change is coming. It has come. We have a new leader in the Recording Academy, also known as the Grammys, which is the awards. We have Mr. Mason. He is doing a wonderful job and bringing diversity to that recognition as well, not just white women, not just Black women, but all women. And that change is changing the dynamics into which we are recognized as having talent, as well as the men who produce in the industry. And I'm very proud of that. So does that answer what you?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It answers it absolutely. Well, the thing I want to ask is that, and you mentioned something about history. I want to jump kind of into the present right now. I mean, we've had some historical voices in the industry, and we'll talk more about this as the show goes on. Who do you think, or do you think that there's a voice that's out there right now who's a female, who is institutional, if you will, or who is a voice for the ages? Do you have anybody that you think just kind of is head and shoulders above anybody else right now?
Well, of course, I'm going to be a little prejudiced. You know that.
Yes, absolutely.
Or the voice for the ages. I mean, we would start with our group, LaBelle, and then you would work
Yes.
to Patti LaBelle. Um, you have Mary J. Blige. You have Beyonce. There is Barbara Streisand. There is, there are so many. I should have made a list, but those voices: Patti, Barbara, Beyonce, Mary, the newcomers, Lizzo. These are these are women who are making making an impact, have made an impact rather, and there are a lot of young artists who are following up or following through because they're checking out the patterns in which we have set for the younger women to follow. And those voices of the ages, Shirley, you can look at Shirley Caesar for the gospel part. You can look at the young lady, I'll think of her name, but she says the song "Take Me to the King." I don't have much of anything.
Oh, yeah,
So,
man. Yes, man.
yes, this voice is a beautiful voice. You have the Whining, CC and B, CC Whining. She stands on her own. Yolanda Adams. So when you talk about music and women in it, you just can't exclude it to R&B, rock and roll. You have to acknowledge the women from all areas of that place. It's that has been a problem for a lot of us down through the years. We have the categories, and when you say, oh, this one is great, but what about Shirley Caesar? You talk about Barbara Streisand. What about Yolanda Adams? You talk about, you see where I'm coming from? All
Oh, yes,
that,
ma'am. Definitely.
jazz artists. You have Carmen McRae, Sarah Vaughan, all those people. Those are the shoulders that I stood on. So I study my articulation from Carmen McRae and Sarah Vaughan, those people. And Stanley Turrentine, his wife Rita Turrentine, she was my coach for articulation and jazz and music. So these shoulders of women, they are very important when you do your study for things that they've done in the music industry, how they traveled during their era versus my era, and then look at the way that Beyonce and the younger ones travel. We open doors for those young women to have the ability to do far and beyond, taken far and beyond journeys that we ever had, you know.
Yes,
Some of them
ma'am.
now are traveling on private planes. We had to go on commercial planes, So it's those things, the commerciality of the work, there are films that are opened up to them now. There are just so many opportunities for them. And I smile when I get those calls and they say, oh, they call me Auntie, I've been through this today. And I said, it's my duty to really give them the truth about what I feel. They can make their own decisions, but based upon what I went through, you take it from there.
Absolutely. Well, Aunt Sarah, that's such a great story and great information. This Book That Radio Show, I'm Dr. Robert Benson with Eddie G. And when we come back, we're going to ask Aunt Sarah to talk to us about the era that LaBelle performed in. I kind of liken them to, with their garb and their appearance, to George Clinton and the Funkadelic guys in that era. So
Yes.
when we come back, we're going to
Yes.
continue to pull our code and get a whole lot more information out of the great Sarah Dash. Book That Radio Show, I'm Dr. Robert Benson with Eddie G. And we'll be right back.
See why listeners from over 150 countries around the world follow the Book of Dad radio show. Join Dr. Robert Benson and Eddie G as they chat with special guests who share their stories and information that will change your life. Watch and listen on lifeandspiritonline.com or subscribe to the Book of Dad radio show on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by the NASCA Network.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Book of Dad Radio with Dr. Robert Benson and Eddie G and our special guest today, the fabulous Miss Sarah Dash. We thank you for being here today. I have a quick thing. Somebody told me to give you a shout out. I was with a couple friends this week, Chuck Gamble and Khalif Gamble, and they love you.
Yes.
They said to tell
Yes.
you hello. They said she is
Oh,
the most wonderful person we've ever met.
oh my goodness. They are wonderful people themselves. Yes.
Yeah, they
Coming
talked
from a
about,
great royalty, right?
a great name, great legendary name. And they talked a little bit about that last album you guys did, the last LaBelle album.
The-
in
what did they
2008.
say?
Oh,
I'm
they
moving
said it was
around.
fun. It was a lot of fun.
We had a good time. We definitely had a good time. As I sit here in this studio right now, it reminds me of the work that we did as LaBelle. As you notice, there's a lot of portraits behind me and things going on, piano over here. It was a good time. It was a time that we came back together, and after 30 years. And we did majority of the work at Philadelphia International Music Studios. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
speaking of your music, when I think about you and I think about the cross section of music that you've been involved in, you have done rock and roll, you've done R&B, you've done soul, you've done so many things that you can't be put in a box. And we wanted to kind of find out some of your experiences as far as being a woman. Was it different in those different arenas, coming up? Because as you said, it was a historic time, and the way women are respected now wasn't always the case. And I just would like to know if you had any instances that you would look back on and say, it was because you're a woman that you weren't respected.
Well, when I first came into the business, I was a teenager. We relied heavily on the male opinion, what we should do, how we should walk, wear clothes we should wear. We had a manager who was male. We came up during the times of the civil rights movement. So as Black teenagers, we experienced not being able to eat in certain places, not being able to, we go when we travel down south, we were in a station wagon. Later, we had a motorhome that our record company gave us because our record company owner was a man by the name of Hal Robertson, who owned a car dealership in Philadelphia. So we were the first people who used those RV motorhomes, and they used it as a promotional status. So here we are, 4 Black women. At the time, there was Nona Hendryx, Patti LaBelle, Cindy Birdsong, who later morphed and went on to the Supremes, took Florence's place, and a chaperone and a manager. And here we are driving through the South, and a lot of times we were stopped simply because the police officers down there had never seen such a thing, the motorhome and these Black people in it. So, I was so glad we were able to go to airports, but we were impacted by the civil rights movement. And moving, being a part of that movement, our record company kept us from actually being involved with King. They diverted our attention to more performances rather than the civil rights movement, the marching, and all of that. And now tell me what your question was. But, we went through the changes of not making our own decisions, doing what they told us to do. And I think, one of the reasons why when we became LaBelle and we changed our name from Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, we were very adamant about how and what we did. And we became an all-women organization. Our attorney was female. Our management was our partner, who was a female, a young woman from England, Vicky Wickham, who had a huge television show called Ready, Steady, Go, became our partner, took us to London. We changed a lot of the way we sang. We, it was the difference between doing the Murray the K shows, the what we call the Chitlin Circuit, the Apollo, the Royal, the Regal, the Howard Theater. We used to do shows all day. And you think about how did we survive with the amount of money we made? And you could never fathom the idea of doing an 11 o'clock show, a 3 o'clock show, a 7 o'clock show. So all that, it's definitely changed. It's made... women today would not be able to do what we did at any level.
I'm sorry. That's a great example you come up with, because I remember seeing the documentary on Ray Charles, where he, in fact, defied that type of environment where there was this constant disrespect and demeaning of Black entertainers.
Yeah.
And you all were in the throes of that. That's an amazing story. But I'd like to talk about you all as a group. I noticed that you're from Trenton, Nona's from Trenton, and Patti's from Philly.
Yes.
How did you all come to meet, and how did you all become a group? I'm just kind of curious. What's the story behind that?
Yes, we had the same manager. Okay. We auditioned for the manager, Mr. Bernard Montague, not the DJ. This is someone who happened to have the same name. He had a group called the Ordettes. He had in that group Cindy Birdsong, Patti LaBelle. Our group was called the Del Capris, which consisted of Nona and myself and some other people. Well, when the members from both groups, some of the members sort of lost their interest, as teenagers would often do, and he put us together. So hence the Philadelphia group, the Ordettes, and the Trenton group, the Del Capris, we came together as one. And Nona and I would travel to Philadelphia to do rehearsals. Our traveling points of leaving, we would have to sometimes be picked up in Trenton if we're going to New York, but most of the time we went to Philadelphia to start from there wherever we were going. And that's how we have the two cities. Yeah.
I see. Excellent story. Yeah, we were talking earlier about your garb and what you all wore during your performances and stuff. And I'd say a lot of that kind of smacks of the George Clinton Parliament Funkadelic Brides of Funkenstein era, if you will. Were you all trying to compete with them, or was that just kind of a fad thing? Or
I beg your pardon.
What was your mindset? Straighten me out.
Yeah, LaBelle, we were the first to do at
Okay.
Space Age Look, and all due to Larry Legaspi and Richard Erker.
Okay.
Um, we were the first group, females, Black, to ever take off the same gowns, took off the same wigs. And in our group, we individualized us, our work. We had the same strong voices. However, we had different characters and personalities, but we had the same love for the music.
Right.
That had no Black girl group had ever changed their mind about the same gown, the same shoes, the same wig. Larry Legaspi created that Space Age Look. Our performance, I'll tell you where it started. The Metropolitan Opera House, we made history as the first Black group to ever appear there. And that's when we introduced all those magnitude of feathers and piping, and I introduced the silver bra, and we did a production. Patty flew in. We used the risers. We started doing our show as a production. We were the innovators of how shows were now going to be produced and seen in the industry. We were the first to do it. Others will not recognize it. That's why each time that I get an opportunity, I will say we were the first. And we were. I mean, the Rolling Stones started flying. Elton John started wearing rhinestone glasses and feathers. And, we changed the image of how people performed, during that time. And George Clinton was definitely influenced. And he'll tell you, he is the master of the funk. But he was heavily influenced by our look, our images. Yes.
That's awesome. So now when you
Yeah.
see a big Beyonce production, or people go back thinking about Pink Floyd with a giant pink elephant floating around, we know who started all that stuff.
Absolutely.
That was a great.
Yes,
That was a
we
great
were
thing you
the
did, because it's
innovators
more
of,
entertaining.
well, we had the basic rule. They went beyond, and, our stuff was created right there the day of the rehearsal of the Met. We had no idea. And our crew came in and said, they have all these things and they're available to the girls. Vicky, talking to our manager, says, let's see what we could do. And we said, they said, we'll let Patty fly. And she's like, uh-uh. She's like, I got to go all the way up there. But the audience lost it. They completely lost it. I can say the Metropolitan Opera House in October 75 changed the face of how performers perform. Yes.
Oh.
And that was LaBelle. Yeah.
Well, I love to be stood corrected on specific things, and that's one of them for sure. So we're going to take another quick break, and we come back. We're going to continue picking the brain of the great Sarah Dash. This is Book of Dad Radio Show with Dr. Robert Benson, my main man Eddie G, and we will be right back.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. Hello, I'm Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I want you to spread the word to your family members and friends to listen to Les Brown Greatness Radio.com. Absolutely. And let me share with you why we're going to be focusing on positive things, because whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. And now more than ever, when the suicide rate has increased over 33%, when the suicide rate of young children between 5 and 11 has doubled, people feeling hopeless and stressed out and powerless. We need programming that can bring out the greatness in them. And that's what we will be focused on. When you listen, it will be an experience that will transform your life. Les Brown, GreatnessRadio.com. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, welcome back. This is Dr. Robert Benson, Book of Dad Radio Show, where you can get us or where you get your podcasts. Any place you get your podcast, Eddie G, as our engineer, he gets the content out. And we have great following because we have great guests like we have today. Miss Sarah Dash, who is the current music and arts ambassador for Trenton, New Jersey. But before we get into asking her about her role as an ambassador, because I'm sure it's different now than what it probably would have been when she was out there on the Chitlin circuit and dealing with those social ills at the time. I'd like to ask her, is there any other family members that you have who are in the industry that you'd like to share with us, the audience?
Yes, I have Julie Dash, the filmmaker. It's my cousin. We have Damon and we have Stacy, who's growing up to be such a wonderful force in the political field. I see her growing every day, and I'm, in spite of her journey, I'm still proud of everyone because we all have to grow. I have my cousin John Dash, who is a major accountant for many artists in the industry. Um, Going down through family things. I have a cousin who's the first Black judge in Santee County in South Carolina, Judge Derek F. Dash. And then I have my cousin, Steve Benjamin, who's the first Black mayor in Columbia, South Carolina. So the family is well rounded in change for America and what we do. I'm sure I've missed some names, but these are names that most of the public would know, and the journey that we've taken to just elevate people. And I come from my parents, my father. Um, I was speaking earlier on a radio show, and they were talking about what Dad had done in Trenton, New Jersey, being one of the first Black scrap and metal men that the Italians sort of respected. And I still have that business. It's shut down now, and I just have the land and the building, which some mean person set on fire, but we're working through that. But having family members who are in different genres of the media, it's so important that we set examples for those to follow. So that's my answer to that. And they call me the grandma auntie of them all because I was the first one to enter into the field of music.
That's
So
awesome.
there you have it.
Well, I've always heard it said that show business is family business, and you definitely have had your influence on family and other people. But now that influence that you're having is extended beyond your family and your role as an ambassador. Talk to us a little bit now about your role as an ambassador. And you were saying before that you have an extended role with the Grammys and some other organizations as well.
Yes. As you know, I was born in Trenton, New Jersey. And when I decided to come back, because I needed to take care of the things that my parents left us, the air properties and what have you. I'm not the oldest in the family. However, I'm a little braver than most. So I have no problem speaking up for what I want and what I want to do. But I came back to Trenton at the time. The mayor there was Eric E. Jackson. And I was just asked to be a trustee for the Philharmonic Orchestra in Trenton, New Jersey. I actually started, there was a group called the Trenton Symphony, and it had been shut down. And so a group of us got together and said, we're going to get the symphony up and rolling. So we did that. And Eric was watching my, journey back into the city. And he said, we've never had a music ambassador here, and you have influenced so many people here, instant funk groups like that who have come out of Trenton. I'd like to name you the music ambassador for the city of Trenton. You will be the first. And I was very excited about it. And then it sort of went away. And one day he called me. He said, I haven't forgotten. I need you to come down to City Hall, have a meeting with me. And I said, well, this would be good. Right now, all I could think about is how will I represent the city of Trenton? Because Trenton, New Jersey didn't have the best reputation in the nation. It was always negativity coming out of here. Not to say that the things did not happen, but let them know that I'm from Trenton. Let me see what I can do to elevate the image of this city. And with that, I started gathering. At the same time, I was a governor for the Grammys. So I started getting in touch with different artists and looking at what musicians were here and what they were doing, and just bringing together my knowledge of who was around. And as a result of that, I created a course at the College of New Jersey, which its previous name was Trenton State College. And that course was based on the history of Trenton, and it was called Trenton Makes Music, and where the children were graded. And that program still exists at the college with 2 other professors. You never know what you can do until you're asked to do it. And that came as a result of me doing a music seminar at the college to bring attention to the music and the history of artists here. So having that, now being named the ambassador, and at the day before, LaBelle received a star in Philadelphia.
Well, Ms. Sarah,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is unbelievable. Ed and I are so honored that you've given us the time you have, and especially with considering your mindset about making sure it happens. We know how to get in touch with you, and we're definitely going to have you come back to the show again sometime.
I would love to come back. I mean, and harness me in. If there's something that you need me to do again, please call upon me. I will bring the knowledge that I have, small, bigger, and different. I do, as you know, I'm opinionated. So, talk about, whatever we need to talk about.
We're going to close out the show with that. This is the Book of Dad radio show. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. Thank you so much, Sarah Dash. It's been a true honor and a pleasure. Thank you, Eddie G. I don't need to support a quote because that's what we're going to use. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
You're welcome. I enjoyed myself. God bless you. May he continue to bless you tremendously.
All right.